Welcome to the Wisdom of the Book of Mormon, and I apologize for not podcasting this earlier, but things happen. This episode is called The Pleasing Word of God. Now, this is one of those passages in the Book of Mormon when I was investigating the church that it just grabbed me. Was one of those verses that just say like, I gotcha. It's kind of like the Book of Mormon is true. You can't just hide behind the fact that it's not. But once again, like the crazy man that I was, we didn't, I didn't grasp it like I should have. And to be honest with you, occasions like this is when I like to, how do I say it? I like to call on really some wisdom here. Here we go. Some wisdom from the apostles and the leaders of the church. You may say, well, Jimmy, what's up? Let's find out. Because when I first heard that about the pleasing word of God and how it heals a wounded soul, I'll tell you something. When I read that, it was around 2000. And it was in between my second it was in between my second and third investigation of the church. Because I vowed that I was going to keep a missionary copy of the Book of Mormon under my bed. Didn't matter what my friends thought. I was going to study it. So, the pleasing words of God. In many ways, it deals with the commandments. Because see, poor Jacob, in order to teach the word which heals the wounded soul, he is being called to, admonished, compelled by the Lord to address a subject that regretfully, because here's what's going on. The Nephites were slipping into apostasy the first time. Whoredoms, plural marriage, sometimes blunt. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles described the challenging balance of teaching the truth both sensitively and boldly. Jacob spends much of 10 full verses apologizing, in effect, for the sins he must address and the language he must use in addressing them. He knows that he does so with soberness, being weighed down with much more desire and anxiety for the welfare of the hearer. Knowing him as we do. We would be surprised if he had said otherwise. Listen to the mournful tone of those passages. Literally, the grief of them as he single-mindedly pursues what he has always been single-minded about. Steadfast loyalty to God and his commandments. Yea, it grieveth my soul, and causeth me to shrink with shame before the presence of my Maker, that I must testify unto you concerning the wickedness of your hearts. Wherefore, it burdeneth my soul that I should be constrained because of the strict commandments which I have received from God, to admonish you according to your crimes, to enlarge the wounds of those who are already wounded, instead of consoling and healing their wounds, and those who have not been wounded, instead of feasting upon the pleasing word of God, have daggers placed to pierce their souls and wound them, and wound their delicate minds. We are not even into the discourse per se before we sense that quite literally this bold and unyielding manner of preaching is almost as hard on Jacob as it is on the guilty ones to his audience. But perhaps that is as it should be, always. And why Christ, in his preaching, was oftentimes a man of sorrows. See, we're given commandments for a reason. And sometimes church leaders have to use some sharpness and boldness to proclaim the truth. Many times we love to be able to feast upon the pleasing word of God. But we all know what's been going on really for decades. Our society has sunk into what is known as a degenerate culture. We can't even agree to disagree anymore. Our discourse is more like, how do I say it in street terms, a discourse. People are disrespectful to one another. And I'm sorry, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I have a political show as along with this. And there are times I have to shut off from covering politics simply because I get fed up with the degeneracy that is going on. It's crazy. People want to question me because of my conversion. A good friend of mine, Bishop Mike, he took me to church last week, and he said, anymore, Jimmy, it's not just enough to have a testimony. The question is, do you live it? Do you live it? Do you live the gospel? Jacob knew the people that were tender-hearted that were living the gospel. But he also knew he had to go after some rascals that were not living the covenants that they made with the Lord. He noticed that they were starting to slip into apostasy. And so being called as a prophet for the Nephites, he's called to preach this. Guys, it's not an easy journey. I know it isn't. But the Book of Mormon has a roadmap. It's written for our day. The way our culture is, it's written for our day. Now, I hope you enjoy listening to the wisdom of the Book of Mormon. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the wisdom of the Book of Mormon community. This is Jimi Hendrix saying, until next time, remember who you are. Read your scriptures, and please, please, please preach the gospel. God bless you. And remember this, from the bottom of my heart, Jimmy loves you. I really, 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 really love you. God bless you and have a blessed day.